This is TWiT.
This episode of Tech Break is brought to you by our friends at IT Pro TV, now called ACI Learning. Together, ACI Learning and IT Pro entertain and train your team to keep your business performing at its best. Visit go.acilearning.com/twit. TWiT listeners who complete the form can receive as much as 65% off an IT Pro Enterprise Solution plan. You'll get the proper quote based on the size of your team. Louise, did you see Lex Fridman talking to Mark Zuckerberg in cyberspace?
No, I did not. Did they do a metaverse conversation?
So was he on a space station as a cartoon
No, they were
character?
just in empty black rooms. But let me tell you, it was wild. So Facebook this week announced something they call Avatar Codecs, or Codec avatars, where they and they did it with a bunch of celebrities for their meta products, Messenger and I guess Instagram and Facebook. These codec avatars, they take some time. They weren't clear on how they produce them. Pixel codec avatars. They take some time to bring you into a studio, and then you get digitized. But they announced that they will have some celebrity codec avatars. Snoop Dogg did one. Mr. Beast did one, a variety of people, but the most interesting way they announced this was in this interview between Lex Fridman, who was digitized, and Mark Zuckerberg, who was digitized. What's interesting is they were not in front of cameras. They were. Well, let me show you first. And this.
Yeah, they were each wearing
Oculus
the Quest
3s.
headset.
Yeah, the new ones.
The Quest 3.
And so they'd already been digitized. Here, I'll play a little bit of this.
He had to go out to Pittsburgh, I guess, to get scanned.
But one of the things that we're thinking about is like, all right, maybe you can kind of stitch a somewhat lower fidelity version of your body, but still have the main kind of.
That looks like Lex Fridman sitting next to Mark Zuckerberg or near him, but in fact. They're not. They're wearing these headsets.
Sort of each of our faces and bodies.
It still looks Uncanny Valley.
It's a little. It's a lot less than it used to be, though, right, Robert?
It is, but I mean, did they really think that the $10 billion they lost on the metaverse was because people wanted better skins? Or it's just a bad concept? I mean, I don't care how realistic you look in a place I'm never going to go.
In the interview, Lex Fridman did like he started out by going, "Wow, this is incredible," and he kept wowing in the beginning of this interview. So he was impressed by the technology. But the more and more you watch it, now they admit that they admitted in this interview, looks like we've crossed that bridge of the Uncanny Valley. But as you're watching it on a 2D screen, you can still tell, and you can still. It is a little creepy because he would turn his head at one point. He would turn his head, and then it like on his neck, you would see some black spots.
Yeah, that's not good.
And then it looked like he was a zombie, that it was slowly decaying. I would
point out this is the first iteration of this, and it's surprising. True. Here's Mark's explanation of how it works.
For background, we both did these scans for this research project that we have at Meta called Codec Avatars. And the idea is that instead of our avatars being cartoony, and instead of actually transmitting a video, what it does is we've sort of scanned ourselves and a lot of different expressions, and we've built a computer model of sort of each of our faces and bodies and the different expressions that we make, and collapse that into a codec that then when you have the headset on your head, it sees your face, it sees your expression, and it can basically send an encoded version of what you're supposed to look like over the wire. So
and by the way, because it's not a video of you, it's much lower bandwidth. We get great pictures of all three of you via Zoom, but imagine, Louise, you sitting here at the table as if you're real in a kind of a low bandwidth connection. I know. Would you be willing to do that? I think it would make this show more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that these avatars are probably useful in certain situations. It'll certainly make online dating maybe more interesting. And maybe it's like high level meetings, right? Like maybe for like sales executives who like, the clients they're working with really want to see them. But I totally agree that I just don't think a better skin is necessarily going to make people want this. Like you're starting to get to the edge with this technology, right? Where like maybe it's going to become a little bit easier for everyday consumers, right? Like now the Oculus, the latest one is what, $499, and that's come down a lot from what, $12.99 a few years ago. That was a niche luxury product for people who wanted to say that, they were on the edge of this technology. But I still just really struggle with putting something over my eyes like that. It's itchy, it's uncomfortable. I think no matter how well you render me, I just don't know if I want to do that. I actually thought at Connect, one thing that was a little bit more interesting was the Ray-Ban glasses. I know we all laughed at Snapchat's, what were those called? The Snapchat spectacles when they came out a few years ago. But I think with some of this generative AI, like I would wear some Ray-Bans in a museum, for example, if I could just look at every painting and some model in the glasses would tell me about that painting or something like that. I think that's a better.
It's funny that you said that because when I was in Rome, I thought, and I think about Rome a lot, as you know.
As a man, of course.
As a man,
yeah.
As an American man. No, I thought if I had, in fact, we toured around the Forum and you see all the ruins. And I thought the next time I'm here, there'll probably be some sort of AR glasses that I can wear that I'll see the ruins, but then I can say, now let me see what it looked like when it was, in back in the day, and it would do that. And I think that would be fascinating.
Yeah, and it's more comfortable, right? Like a pair of Ray-Ban glasses, like that.
I don't want to wear a nerd helmet. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
They're marketing it all wrong because the idea of the metaverse, the Facebook or the meta version of the metaverse is that people want to interact on this virtual plane. Where I think, Leo, what you're describing is something it's AR. And it's something that most of us have wanted, which is you just give us information. I'm not interacting with people through it. I'm getting additional information about the things.
Yeah, or as Louise said, you could be looking at Van Gogh's, night cafe, and then see some history and story. And I mean, we already do that when we go to a museum. We'll put on headphones and listen to the narrator. But it'd be nice to have some even more visual stuff.
Well, that's the idea of this mixed reality concept where you're merging the augmented reality.
We're so far off, though.
Reality.
That's part of the problem. I mean, Apple's trying to do this with Vision Pro next. They say now early next year. Mark Gurman at Bloomberg is saying it's going to be soon, next few months. We still have never seen Tim Cook wear them, not once, which is to me a very bad sign. He says he wears it every day, but but he hides when he does it, I guess. But these are ungainly. No, I agree with you, Louise. It makes me almost queasy to think about wearing that for any length of time.
Right.
But we're far off from those Ray-Ban glasses do not do augmented reality, do they?
Nope.
Have you tried? Has anybody tried it? No.
I haven't done it yet.
No. So the closest I've come to are the Microsoft prototypes.
The HoloLens.
And they're nice, but
still
they're not
a nerd helmet.
Ray-Bans.
Still a nerd helmet.
Well, yeah, and so with the Quest 3, I am considering getting them now because they are at a price point where I feel like I can afford it. And
$499.99.
Yeah, that's about a price point where I'm willing to go and spend that money on something that I could do VR and AR. I do like that. I read some reviews that the three things in front now make you less queasy than VR. A lot of the PlayStation VR that I was using.
So is that because you're seeing the real world? So it's not all fake.
Yeah, and so your brain doesn't sense that you're in a different place where it was making you nauseous before.
And of course, the reason obviously this Lex Friedman interview is an ad for the new Meta Quest 3, right? I mean, it was basic, but they could do it because there's so many cameras. See these cameras on the side that they can see your body, they can see your face, they can transmit that information. I guess and Apple's promised that as well with the Vision Pro. There's cameras everywhere on the Vision Pro.
It is interesting tech. I think it would probably have avoided the Uncanny Valley if they had scanned someone who looks more naturally human than Mark Zuckerberg.
What are you saying? He looks like a droid?
I mean, in real life, he looks Uncanny Valley, so that's not a good start.
Yeah, you can't tell if he's real or not because he doesn't look real even when he is. In fact, on
high
these,
bar.
his complexion is actually too natural, right? He's got some color. Yep. He looks like he's been.
This actually looks better than real Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah. I mean, they've done Snoop Dogg, they've done Mr. Beast, they've created a bunch of characters. I can remember. I'll have to see if I can find the list of.
Well, those are the AI personalities, right? That they're launching into all of their apps. Tom Brady's one of them. I'm a Boston guy here, so. We're pretty psyched to have Tom Brady.
So what do you want to do with Tom now that you can get in a room with him?
Well, it's not officially Tom Brady. It's Tom Brady acting as like a.
Yeah, they don't give him his name either, right?
Yeah, they call him Bruh or something like that. I can't remember what they. I watched that video where Mark Zuckerberg walked around his house and introduced you to all of the different AI personalities you had. I don't know if you saw that, but it was hard to find. It's not easily accessible on YouTube.
Oh, good. I'd like to find it. Yeah.
His parents come over and they start talking. They have this like virtual dinner party with one of the Jenners. I was like, if this is the future I want out, like I do not want to hang out with any of these personalities, even if they are AI.
Mark surreal dinner party with AI celebrities. All right, let's. There's Tom. Let me turn the sound up here.
There's also Meta AI, an assistant that can help you with all kinds of.
Oh, wait a minute! I got too many tabs open. Hold on. I got too many different things going at once. I gotta close.
That's the video, though. You got the right video.
I got the right video. Okay, let me.
Yeah.
I saw.
Yeah, I've seen this too.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet, so I'm glad you mentioned it because I kind of want to see. So where should I?
I never want to eat smoked meats again.
He's imagining smoked meats.
Hey, Mark, your parents are here.
By the way, incidentally, while I think of the Roman Empire every day, I think he thinks of smoked meats often. I don't know why.
See you too.
All right,
So here's Mark's parents.
Hi, Brew.
Wait, I feel bad. Mark's parents.
There is Brew. Yes, his name is Brew.
I feel bad because Mark's parents. I mean, did you think they had to do this? It's like, Mom, Dad, would you come over? I want to do a little ad for Brew. All right, let's see him. Let's see Tom Brady. He is in a screen, though. He's not in a headset or anything.
Too. Hi, Brew. Hi.
Yeah.
There.
Mom's already.
We'd come early and help with dinner.
I'm so down for dinner. Let's make something delicious.
Who's that? Is that Kendall Jenner?
Now that's
one of the Jenners. Yeah,
Jenner.
That's Kylie Jenner.
Kylie.
Thank you.
Let's get this done. No slacking.
That's Victor. They don't have their real names.
And I want to see you sweat, especially you.
Wait a minute.
Perfect
Mark,
as always, Jarvis.
Mark, that laughter was so bad. I got to do that again. Somebody's got to meme
upsetting.
that. Somebody's got to meme that laughter because that was creepy.
Mark, your toast is ready.
Perfect as always, Jarvis.
You got it, Mark.
All right, so watch out for these AIs to come soon.
By the way, Jarvis was Mark's personal project for an AI assistant that he only had in his house. They never released that, but apparently he's making toast for him. Oh, this is.
I'm thinking about becoming Amish. I mean, none of that looks attractive to me. Like, not even a little bit.
This is the problem, frankly, with Mark Zuckerberg is that he doesn't have his finger on the pulse of humanity, shall I say? He doesn't.
Okay, I agree, and I think that some of this, character stuff, right, where you're interacting with someone famous who's now an AI, is very weird. But I did do this story earlier this week or last week, I guess now. Where I talked to a bunch of people who are talking to these AI bots of like fantasy characters, and they're often like really young Gen Z, and I sort of get that, but why do I need Kylie Jenner in my kitchen? Like, I just think that they're really thinking about the wrong context here. Like, all those kids, like these were kids who were into fantasy fiction, who were into like werewolves, vampires, that kind of stuff already, and like they want to do that alone in their room,
right?
Like.
They don't want to invite their parents over to make toast for them.
Right. It's just like
Kylie
this very
Jenner.
odd circumstance. Yeah. I think that's the issue. And I think also you see again and again that these big tech companies lean into the celebrities and they want like a celebrity endorsement. Whereas I actually think their user base is like, we want this weird anime that you've never heard of. You know what I mean? Or we don't actually want the celebrity endorsement. I think again and again for like these kinds of bleeding edge products, it just doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Yeah. Let me just play Mark's laugh one more.
Please.
If you watch the beginning of it, Leo, it's gonna burn your eyes too because he's waking up from his bed.
Boom!
What?
Let's get this done. No slacking.
If it involves dancing, I'm your girl.
And I want to see you sweat, especially you.
Oh God. Oh. All right, I want to see Mark wake up. Let's
Yeah, it's I've warned you.
Okay, Mark Zuckerberg. This is how he begins his day.
Morning, Mark. Room temperature is set to a cool 68 degrees.
Loving your new voice.
Thank you.
A while back, I introduced my first AI, Jarvis, to help around the house.
Apparently, Mark sleeps in his tidy whities.
Jarvis is great, but what if you could have an AI that could help you with everything that you wanted to do? So
I noticed.
to work with the
By the way,
team building a whole
Priscilla is nowhere to be found. She said, "Mark, if you do this, you're doing it on your own, buddy."
Now, is this the real bedroom, or is this a set somewhere where they're trying to pretend that
Maybe this is his bedroom in Mountain View.
of AIs.
At the office.
Is that the guest room? Maybe that's the guest room.
It's the guest
Played
room.
by familiar people.
Fire in the hole!
Let's go! This is Brew,
Oh.
our trash-talking sports expert. Hey, Brew, what do you know about epic comebacks?
Kids, seriously. 1975 World Series.
Now remember.
Okay, all right. As someone who's lived in Boston for the last 25 years,
Yeah.
plus,
Yeah.
and Tom Brady is not from.
He's not from Boston. He's from here. He's from San Mateo, California.
San Mateo. Yeah. So for him to use the line "kid," which is what everybody in Boston does in their Boston accent, whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's just cringe for me in terms of trying to have Tom Brady's never said "kid" to anybody unless it's in a script.
But imagine this. Okay, obviously this is horrible. But what if your Amazon? I mean, really horrible. What if your Amazon Echo or your Google Assistant, if you asked it a sports question, answered in Tom Brady's voice? Obviously, it's AI created content, right? So part of the problem is that the current AI, the current voices on these devices aren't great, but also the content they're delivering isn't great. But they're talking about Apple, Amazon, Google are all talking about putting these LLMs behind these voices at some point. So now you've got an LLM giving you sports information, and it's doing it in I don't want Tom Brady, but it's doing it in a recognizable, maybe, you know what, John Madden. If it were John Madden's voice, that'd be cool, right? I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but
well, you would have to get John Madden's.
It's too late now. You're right. It's too late
to agree to it. Yeah.
Well, but there's enough video of him that
yeah. Oh, you can do
obviously
it.
Tom Brady agreed to it. How much did Meta pay Tom Brady or Mr. Beast to do this, or Kylie Jenner to do this? They must have paid them millions, right?
You would think. Yeah, you would think that they would have
Classic stuff
given them
right
some
there.
money.
Thanks for the tip, Brew.
I don't want to call him
There's
Brew.
also
I'm
Meta
sorry.
AI,
That's really
an assistant
awful.
that can help.
That's really awful.
I mean, I didn't pay for any of the celebrity voices for my GPS.
Oh, I did.
When we
I did for TomTom. I did. I had. Oh, my favorite.
Who's telling you where to go, Leo?
Dennis Hopper, and it was so funny because he would say, "You've arrived, but why would anyone want to go here, man?" It was awesome. And then GLaDOS from the Portal games, you could get her voice on TomTom, and she would tell you the wrong. She, instead of saying turn left, she'd say turn right. So that was interesting. Wasn't useful.
We had Cortana, which was,
that was
a voice
terrible.
that millions of gamers around the world love.
That's right.
And no one used Cortana.
Yeah.
Because no one cares about the celebrity voice.
Oh, wow. Just look at the Mark Zuckerberg thing at Marca.com, and now I see that Travis Kelce was seen leaving Taylor Swift's apartment. Holy, after spending the night in her car.
It was an AI, Leo.
Clearly, we're doing the wrong news. Holy cow.
She was at the game. I mean,
yeah, but I thought that was like he invited her and she showed up. Mom was there. It was very innocent. Maybe something's going on.
Seems like it.
She's a grown woman.
Breaking news. Is she though? Is she really? All right, enough of this. We're going to see it. It's happening. It's going to get better, right? I mean, this is as bad as it's ever going to be, and it's pretty surprisingly good. It's going to get amazing. How close to her are we?
Well, I want to jump back for a second. What's interesting about these AI personalities won't necessarily be the celebrities, but will be what the users do with it. And I think once they start integrating them into the Facebook apps and the Instagram and the WhatsApp, that's the other one that they own.
Yep.
Once they start integrating them in, and then they get a sense of what audience is using it. Again, my kids...
Right now, they've been trained on Mark Zuckerberg. They're not exactly normal.
Well,
But you get humans asking real questions.
We'll see if they use them. Yeah. You get some humans asking some real questions. And then, Facebook, they're very good at collecting data on everybody and everything. And, they'll track them. I think most people will realize that they're not actually talking to Tom Brady or that they're not.
Well, that's why they called him Brew, not Tom.
Right. The next phase would be at some point, do they then ask Tom Brady, all right, we're going to create a virtual Tom Brady out of you, and then anybody can pay X amount of dollars to hang out with you in the metasphere or whatever it is.
But you remember Joaquin Phoenix falling in love with Scarlett Johansson in her, right?
That's certainly one of the downsides.
Insanity.
Yeah.
I think it's not going to be the Tom Brady's, though. It's going to be like what character AI is doing, which is that you can make up your own bot, right? Yeah. Like, it's like everyone's like, oh, who wants to chat with Abraham Lincoln? It's like no one, but people do want to chat with the bots that they made up themselves, right? Like, that's what it actually is. It's that people are coming up with, and when I say people, I mean very, very young, like teens often, are coming up with their own bots. And like I said, I talk to these people and they are very addicted to it. They're often paying OpenAI usage, because they're paying for their usage of this. So like, I talked to some teens who were talking like tens, sometimes hundreds of dollars a month to talk to their bots. So this is already happening. But I think that Meta is just, again, making this like lame dad mistake of like, we're going to get the celebrity endorsements instead of like going to the users and then saying like, look at these awesome users who came up with these really cool bots themselves, right? I think that's sort of the mistake. Because when you're like, oh, in the kitchen with Charli D'Amelio or, Kylie Jenner, that's just so stale, right? Like, I don't think you're really showing people the promise of the technology, actually. You're just showing them like, we're a corporate company and here's our corporate sponsors that we paid millions to use their voice.
I confess, I had paid the $20 a month to OpenAI for ChatGPT 4 access. And then I didn't hardly ever use it. So I think last month, the month before, I said, all right, fine, cancel it. But then they added voices. And I thought, oh, I want that. So I've signed up again. And right now you can ask it questions verbally. And soon it's rolling out. It'll respond in a voice.
And it'll talk back to you.
I don't know if we know what that's going to be like. Don't you think there is a great risk that some people will, like Joaquin Phoenix, kind of get as you said, people are already getting involved with text-based AI and it's almost romantic. It's obsession.
It's upsetting, and that will exist no matter what. I mean, you don't need an advanced piece of technology in order to make that happen. I think the issue we're focusing on cosmetics. And these are all cosmetics.
No. I think that's the thing. I mean, yes, obsession. It's stupid if you're marrying a pillow, right? But if that pillow looks like Gina Lollobrigida and sounds like Scarlett Johansson, how stupid is it? It's as they get more and more realistic. Of course, we know abstractly it's not real, but biologically, if your body and mind and thinks that that's a real person you're talking to, that's it. It's over. I think
it's already happening.
Yeah, many people will fall for this, and I might be one of them.
Well, I think too, like, you're talking about the audio function, but there's also the visual function, right? So I wonder if people will also like, what happens when you can send pictures of yourself to the bot, right? And then the bot can like reply to those or videos, right? And they can like detect what's in them. Because I think that's the two-way capability. Because everyone's like, oh, now I can send a picture of my fridge to ChatGPT and it will tell me to make what to make for dinner, right? And that's nice. But like, I think it'll be weird to see like what happens when you can video chat with the bots, right? And they can see who you are and they can interpret what you look like.
I think audio is actually more dangerous because, as you see, you got the uncanny valley when you see the video. There's a certain amount of unreality around it. But audio is very I know from doing radio for 50 years, audio is very powerful. And the mind fills in the gaps. If you don't see a picture, you know, that's why when you're reading a book, it's so much more vivid than in watching a movie of the same book, because your mind is really adept at this. I think audio is risky as hell. I think it's very likely that once people could start conversing, and it's a believable conversation. It's not like Eliza where it's saying, you know, well, tell me about your horses, where it's actually kind of generative. I think that's going to be very interesting. I think that's literally days or months off. It's going to happen.
Yeah,
soon.
The demos I've seen are still slow. So the videos I've seen, someone asks a question and then you see the little thought bubble go like this for a little while, and then it comes back with an answer, and then you ask another one. So right now it's still a very early adoption of this conversation that you're going to have with someone. I don't necessarily think that it will. Maybe again, for my generation, probably people won't be into it. But there is a danger of a younger generation that is looking for emotional connection that they might not have with people in the real world. I mean,
I think it's lonely people of all ages. There's lots of lonely people who are older. Let me tell you. Right,
and that's a danger that they could become obsessed with this virtual character.
Yeah.
Especially if they start looking, and then they put an avatar and it looks like Mark Zuckerberg, because who wouldn't want to have a conversation with Mark like that?
Well, I think the two-way audio is going to be really crazy too, because like when it will be able to say, "Oh, you sound sad today."
Yes.
Right. Like the ability to perceive like what's in your voice as well, because right now, like you can scream at Alexa, right, and it doesn't know that you're
mad at it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like it doesn't have any sort of like that granular data, but I think that we're sort of on the edge of that already, right? Like it can already describe visual imagery. It can already describe like, oh, this is a rock song, not a pop song or whatever. So there's no doubt. And I think we're going to see that. I mean, one of the first things that happened when this came out is that this OpenAI employee tweeted that she'd never been to therapy before, but she like felt really listened to by ChatGPT, and that sort of, you know, went viral and a lot of people flamed her. But I think it was interesting that, you know, even the employees there, right, are like, oh, this is, you know, they're the ones who are getting sort of like obsessed with it
because they are interacting before we are with the newest technology. I honestly think this is going to be, you know, I'm not one of those people who subscribes to the AI is an existential threat to mankind. I'm kind of skeptical about AI in general, but there are little areas that AI could worm its way into our lives, and I think this is one in particular that we're ill prepared for because of biology, because our minds aren't trained to say, oh yeah, unless it is fake. That's why Uncanny Valley is so creepy. Yeah. But I think you can do it with voice without Uncanny Valley. And then what? Even the delay isn't too bad. I mean, obviously, the less delay, the better. But if somebody says, boy, you sound sad, what's up? And you start telling it, and it responds empathetically, I'm a little worried about that. I think there's a lot of people who would fall for that.
Yeah.
Me included.
And I worry
possibly.
too. Yeah. And I worry too, like everyone thinks about sort of the romance case, but I also worry like, okay, you want a refund and you call some company's customer care line, right? And now they have this like suave bot who talks you out of that, right? And all of a sudden you're like, oh, I guess I'm feeling better. Yeah. I'm going to keep my subscription, right? Like there are a lot of like these sort of like emotional manipulation cases that I think we haven't maybe thought through yet.
I agree.